Good afternoon. Welcome to Bloomerang Academy, and thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're talking about creating and managing a recurring giving program or recurring gifts program. Joining us today is Di Cox. She is our resident database consultant, and she's been working with so many different databases in the last 15 years of her career. So we're very excited to have her here with us and here at Bloomerang to be sharing her knowledge and expertise with us and with all of you. We have a lot of great information for you today, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Di. Thanks for joining us again today, Di.
Thanks so much, Diana. And hi, everyone. Thanks for all the nice little hellos in the chat. That was fun to read while Diana was talking. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about recurring gifts program today. I really do think they're incredibly important. They can save a lot of time and money and some headaches and all sorts of other things. So give me just a second here and I will get my screen shared and then we can get started with this. All right. So our agenda for today is recurring gifts versus pledges. There is a distinction there, and I think it's really important for everybody to know what that is. Some reasons to consider a recurring gifts program, stewarding your recurring donors, and then we'll talk about tracking recurring gifts in Bloomerang. So I'll actually dive into the database a little bit. I'll add some recurring gifts. I can pull up a few things in some reports to show you guys. And then I'm going to show you one fun way to steward your donors using Bloomerang software. And then from there, we'll look at the resources screen and I'll be able to take some Q&A. All right. So the first thing we should establish is the difference between a recurring gift and a pledge, as they are absolutely not the same thing. A pledge is a finite amount of money promised to an organization with a definite start date and a definite end date. In most cases, they do not automatically withdraw from a bank account, and most organizations who have pledge programs will send out pledge reminders a month or a couple weeks before a pledge payment is due. A recurring gift, on the other hand, is a set amount of money that's paid on a schedule. Most of the time it's paid on a monthly schedule, but not always. It can be on other schedules as well. And they should be part of your long-term strategy. So there's no start and end date with them. People are just going to give until they decide they no longer would like to give. So nonprofits should have both pledges and recurring gifts as part of their long-term strategy. Pledges generally are used for larger amounts over shorter periods of time. So, a pledge that's a 1 year to 3 year pledge are pretty common. The hope with your recurring donors is that they are giving a smaller amount over a much longer period of time. So 3, 5, 7, 9 years out. So why should you as an organization consider a formal recurring gifts program? So to start, a recurring gifts program is a really truly concerted effort to increase the number of recurring donors a nonprofit has, and then to steward those donors to ensure that they keep going. Recurring giving programs are cost effective. They ensure a consistent revenue stream, and they're a relatively simple way to upgrade current donors from what they're giving now annually to a higher amount of money. Another really great benefit of a recurring gifts program is that it has a positive impact on donor retention. So with recurring gifts, you're not sending out quarterly appeals. You're not sending acknowledgement letters after every gift. Correspondence on their giving is sent annually. So for organizations who are still using paper appeals and acknowledgements, which by the way is the majority of the Bloomerang customers that we have, they're still using paper. So that's not a criticism, it's just a reality. But it can save a significant amount of money as you build out your donor base. You're not having to send that name over to your print shop. You're not spending the money on ink, on paper, on envelopes, and on stamps quarterly, biannually, however often you send out your appeal letters. It also frees up time for your development team since recurring donations come in automatically. So if you're using Bloomerang software, these gifts will land on the constituent record every time they come in with no data entry requirements. In this slide, you can see the chart of how a recurring gifts program can positively benefit your annual donations for your current constituents. I've set it up at some various annual giving levels based on monthly donation amount. So a couple of things with this chart. It's color coded. Green is your target ask amount. Yellow is an ask amount that's still an increase to what they're giving annually. And red for, past the amount that they're giving is kind of a long shot. It's further from that target ask. You're probably not going to get that amount. And if it's before that target amount, then it's actually a downgrade in giving. So if we take people here who annually they are giving you $100, so whether it's a single gift of $100 or if it's a total giving of $100, a $5 monthly donation would be a downgrade. That would be $60 a year. But a $10 a month donation would be an upgrade. So that is a really easy way to take those donors who give you $100 a year and get them giving $120 a year. $20 a month would be the target. It's a donation that more than doubles their annual gift, but it's not cost prohibitive for most donors who are giving $100 or more to your organization a year. So kind of taking a look at this chart, when you start to build out your recurring gift program, you can use this sort of a chart to segment out your appeals. So you can say, for donors who give between 25 and 50, on that appeal letter, you can list out recommended amounts. And so you can say $5 a month, $10 a month. Always provide an other option, obviously, and also ensure that you always leave an option for a one-time gift versus a recurring gift. The reason for that is some people are not able, for example, to do $10 a month, but they could do a $10 gift right now. And it's still better to secure that $10 gift than to say, if you aren't giving me a recurring gift, I don't want your money. So make sure on those appeal letters that you're asking for an amount of money that makes sense, that's within that target range, and is within their capacity of giving based on what they're doing with your organization now. And then again, that option for an other amount and the option for a one-time gift versus that recurring gift. So since recurring payments happen automatically on a schedule, long-term recurring givers become year-over-year donors. And kind of as already mentioned, that's a net positive for your donor retention score. A 45% donor retention is the average donor retention rate for nonprofits. And that's the goal that you should be aiming for if you're below that level. Everyone at 45% and above, you're doing a great job. Remember that it's cheaper to maintain the donor base you have instead of constantly bringing in more, since the average donor retention rate of a first-time donor is only 20%. As a fun note here, the retention rate for recurring donors is 90%. So the higher your overall retention rate is, the better and more sustainable your nonprofit is going to be. And the more people that you have in that 90% range means that it will be more cost effective to keep your donors. You'll have to do less to bring in new donors, and your year-over-year giving will stay either even or start to go up over the years. So for anybody asking how donor retention is measured, it's measured by taking all of your returning donors in year 2 and dividing them by all of your donors in year 1. So this chart on the slide is going to show donor attrition rates at 20%, 40%, and 60% over the course of 3 years. So if you were to bring in no new donors after that 1,000, at the end of 3 years, this is the number that you would have in your database with those attrition rates. So this is not sustainable long-term, obviously. So you need to bring in more people, and you need to keep the people that you have. So first-time donor cultivation is really essential. Those who receive personal thank you calls within the first 48 hours are 4 times more likely to donate to your organization a second time. And kind of to head off the next question at the pass, not everyone is going to provide their phone number. That's reality. If you don't have their phone number for first-time donors, either send them a personal email or a handwritten note within the first 48 hours with your phone number in it and an invitation for them to call you. It'll be up to them whether or not they want to engage you any further, but you've given it your best shot. You've made that connection. You've made that contact. And again, it's personal. It's not from a mass email. It's not from a printed out acknowledgement letter. So the reason this is important with recurring giving is that being able to keep that retention rate up and being able to ensure that your attrition rate is not falling at these astronomical rates means that you can be sustainable longer, and it means that you can do more good in the world. So once you have a recurring, a program set up. So once you have sent those appeal letters, you have people coming in, and you now have recurring donors in your database. Regardless of the number, if you get 4 or you get 400, you should have a stewardship plan in place for them. All of your donors should be treated as more than just a dollar sign, but since you will not be sending acknowledgement letters after every gift and instead sending them annually, it means more of a chance of your donors falling through the cracks and not hearing from you until either their credit card expires and you need to get a new number, or you're going to reach out and request that they upgrade their giving. In that case, they most likely would just cancel their gift if they're not hearing from you until then. So you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that you are still engaging with them. You're still cultivating that relationship. You're still putting your organization in the forefront of their mind so that it isn't set it and forget it. It's set it and continue it and help it to grow and nourish. My recommendation is that at minimum, you reach out every 6 months with something donor-centric and not fundraising based. So no ask button at all, no appeal letter, just donor-centric. So, a thank you note or, a fun little postcard I've seen they can be really cute. It doesn't have to be incredibly serious. All it's doing is validating their importance to your organization. It generates a lot of goodwill and excitement, and that's going to make them care a lot more about the mission and the goals you're setting out, the programs they're supporting. That's the point of it. They are a recurring donor, and it's because your mission matters to them. The next part of this is important enough that I'm going to read it directly from the slide. Impact statements are a great way to generate buy-in from your recurring donors. Telling them what their gift does at their donation level ensures your donor feels like they are making a real difference. They need to know what their $5 a month is doing, what their $20 a month is doing, why that matters to you guys. Sometimes it really is, you're helping us keep the lights on. Sometimes it's you're keeping this program going. A lot of times it's how you frame it. That same $5 could keep the lights on or keep a program going or whatever it is. But making sure that you are thinking through the impact at different giving levels can really help to engage your donors and nourish that relationship to make sure that they feel the impact that their gift is giving you. Those are the donors that are going to want to give more. Those are the donors that are going to get excited and get their friends and family involved. You can also use these impact statements later when you're asking them to upgrade their recurring donation. So, you reiterate what their current gift impact is, and then let them know what what more that next level could do. So ensure that your team is aware of each level, because it's possible that after you've asked for an upgrade, you'll get donors who will call or email you, and they'll want to have a chat about impact before agreeing to upgrade that gift to that next level. So make sure that you have team buy-in for your impact statements, that you guys know what those levels are, and that you can talk about them, even in quick little elevator pitches when you've met somebody new. All right, so next we're going to pop into Bloomerang, and we are going to take a look at how recurring giving looks in the database. So a note on this, my training database is all Star Wars, so it's about to get really nerdy in here. So let's go in and let's create a new recurring gift for a couple of people, and we'll talk about schedules. We'll build them out, we'll add some gifts to it, and then I'll build out some reports based on this information. So Luke Skywalker has decided that he's going to start giving a recurring gift here. So we're going to come in and we are going to do a new recurring donation. First thing is amount. So he is going to do $10. The fund is going to be our Kashyyyk cleanup efforts. This is part of our 2020 annual campaign, and our end of the year appeal is specific for Kashyyyk cleanup. The schedule, so his first payment is coming in today, so we'll leave that there. We have a whole bunch of options for frequency. He's going to be a monthly donor. This end date here, I'm going to leave blank. The reason that that's there is so that if a couple of years from now, Luke gives me a call and says, hey, I'm really sorry, I've lost my job and I can no longer give you $10 a month, I can, thank him profusely for his giving and let him know that's not a problem. We can go in and we can cancel everything out, and I can put an end date here. And that way I can see for how long, based on just the schedule page here, Luke was a recurring donor to me. But because there is no end date up front for a recurring gift, that end date is going to stay blank there. So we have the same options that we have on other gifts. We can soft credit, tribute. We can do acknowledgements directly from here if we need to do a one-off letter. I could add an attachment. And then, of course, we have all of our custom fields available here. Something else is this auto payment method. So if I had a payment processor hooked up to my sample database here, I could select credit card. Here it says the processor is required. I can set all of that up and say, okay, this is going to come out of Stripe or this is going to come out of Moolah. So I can list all of that out there. Right now, I'm going to say none. Totally fine. We're going to do some manual entry anyway. And then I'm going to save this. So this recurring schedule shows on the timeline. This is not a revenue listing because it's just the schedule. Luke has not actually made a gift yet. So again, if it is coming in automatically through a processor, it will just appear monthly on the schedule here on this timeline, and it'll say recurring gift payment. So you're going to see that. The other way to do it is manually. Every once in a while, you will have a donor that will write a check monthly or write a check quarterly, and that is fantastic. You want to take their recurring gift however they're willing to send it. So we're going to add Luke's gift in today manually. We'll come up and we'll do a new donation. And then it's going to give me the option to add a recurring donation installment or to just do a new donation. So we're going to say this is an installment. And now I'm going to create it. I'm going to apply to a scheduled payment, and I'm going to create it. So as you can see, it will auto-populate everything that was on that original record. The date today is the same, so there's nothing else I need to do there. I'm going to save this. We're going to say cash because, again, it just came in. So now you can see it's that recurring payment. So this is an actual revenue gift. This is technically part of raised. So we've raised a recurring gift. He's going to be giving. This means he's actually giving. So that's great. Let's do another one. Let's see, Nora Wexley. All right, so we're going to come in. We can look at Nora's timeline. She hasn't given anything yet. So we're going to come in and we're going to do a new recurring donation. So she is going to be at the $25 amount. We're going to select Kashik again, annual campaign, end of year. Auto payment for me, none. The start date for this is actually going to be 1/15 of 2021. So she's let me know this is going to start. There's an upcoming due date here. She's also going to be a monthly donor. That's fine. And then let's add one more. Let's do, do I have any of the Organas in here other than Leah? No. Let's do, sorry, I should have had somebody else prepared. I'm very sorry for this. Let's do Leah. She has a lot on her record, but that's fine. So we're going to pick Leah. So she's going to have a new recurring donation come out. She's going to do $20 a month. And again, we'll do Kashik, end of year, none. Her start date can be today. Actually, let's do, I'm going to go in and edit this. So now you can see this editing the schedule. And by that, I mean, this will be fine. We'll save this and then we'll do Admiral Akbar. There we go. And we are going to take a look at what happens when somebody has not given when they were supposed to. So we're going to say that he's also at a $20 level, but his start date was supposed to be 6/8 of 2020. This is not helpful for you guys. I'm sorry. So we'll just do today, and then I'll do some generated reports for you. Year, none, save. Okay, so now we have some people in here that have recurring gift schedules. So I can come into reports and I can run reports on them. So I'm going to come in and do a new transaction report. And to start with, I just want to see everybody with a recurring gift schedule. So type is recurring donation schedule. So this is going to show everybody in the database who has one. So Han Solo also has one here. Let's go take a look at his record and see what he's been doing. All right, so his next payment isn't until 12/15, so that's not helpful for showing arrears either, but that's okay. So we have 5 people here who have recurring gifts in the database. The total amount is $95. I can see the fund, the campaign, and the appeal here. I can even sort it. So if I wanted to sort it based on the fund, I can group by this column, and I can see everything to the New Republic and the subtotal of this $95 that's going to this specific fund. And then I can see Kashik over here. A subtotal of $75 is going to the Kashik cleanup efforts. If I want to see everybody in the database who has made a recurring gift payment, I can come in here and we can see who has made payments. So Luke Skywalker is the only one, $10 here. And then again, I can see the campaign, the appeal, all of that information. It's already grouped by funds here from the old report. So we can remove this grouping and I can put fund back here where we would normally see it in a report. So I can see what is in the database as a recurring gift schedule. I can see the payments that have been made, and I can also then take a look at what is upcoming. So if I want to see anything in the future, I can go down and I can obviously sort by any of these values here. So I am going to take a look at next installment date is during, let's say, next month. So we have now included pledges in this. So now I can say and type is recurring donation payment. So this report is not being helpful for me right now. Let's do this instead. Let's do next installment date. So there we go. So there are all of our next installment dates for these. Let's now take a look at acknowledgement status for all of those. So I want to see everyone that has do not acknowledge. There are none. So if I wanted to come in and say, I don't want to acknowledge my recurring donation schedules, I can right click, open the link in a new tab, come up here, and I can change this acknowledgement status to do not acknowledge. So now when I come back and I take a look at acknowledgement status, I can say it's do not acknowledge, and that's going to pull up Nora's. So essentially the functionality for reporting in here is pretty helpful. You can go through and you can take a look at everything. You can use your recurring donation information, split it out based on the schedules versus the actual donations that have been made, all of that sort of thing. Some other helpful information if we leave this report, we have report templates that are set up. So you can go through and take a look at all of these different schedules here. As you can see, we have schedules pre-built for pledges, but because your recurring donors are going to be not on an actual schedule, reminders aren't going out, we don't have pre-built reports for that. But we do have this monthly donors report. So this is active recurring gift schedule with 12 or plus gifts in the last 365 days. My report isn't going to show anybody. Oh, I guess it's going to show somebody. But it's it's going to show you everything that's going on. So the way this is set up here, Admiral Akbar already has a recurring donation schedule set up, but he's on time with everything. So we've now created a new schedule. So he's now making a $20 recurring gift a month, and he's got a $25 monthly donation also coming out, it looks like. So this is how it looks here. All of these just say donation because they were never attached to a recurring schedule. But he showed up in the report because it is a recurring gift that's coming out every single month. So make sure that your data entry is clear and consistent. But if you're ever curious if data entry has gone in wrong, you can go to that monthly report and it'll show you who is giving on a recurring basis, and you guys can go from there. So again, that's some gift entry, that's some gift management, that's some reporting. And then as far as stewardship goes, I would strongly recommend at least once a year sending out something really, really fun. There's always going to be someone else that needs help, someone or something else that your organization can be doing to impact the world, and your donors know that. So make sure that you are doing kind of a feel-good piece where you're still thanking them, but in a way that's a little bit different and is going to put a smile on their face. So I created this. It is an email, and we can go back and I can show you how I built it a little bit. But this is going to a subset of the donor database. So Luke Skywalker here. It is from Kashyyyk, and the subject is a thank you from the planet Kashyyyk. So if you read through this, you can see that this letter is coming from the planet. It's not coming from our nonprofit here. It is really going to say thank you to them. It is going to talk about the impact that their gift is making. It's going to really give them those fuzzy, warm feel-goods. So I'll go ahead and read this because I know the type is a little bit small here and I'm not sure how clear it is on everyone's screen. It says, "Dear Luke, it's me, the planet Kashyyyk. I'm sure you've never received an email from a planet before. Admittedly, I've never sent an email before. Before the Empire and its war machine came to my shores, I never felt the need to. The Empire polluted my air, poisoned my water, and nearly decimated the worship tree, the lifeblood of my native Wookiee population. Post-liberation, most people wrote me off and believed I would never be habitable again. But you are not most people. You believed in me when no one else did. Your faith in me, along with your monthly gift of $10, has ensured my survival. Teams on the ground here have been able to purify my waterways, which means life is possible here once more. I cannot possibly thank you enough for your continued support, but the closest I will be able to get is to say thank you in my native Shirwook language, and I don't speak Wookiee, so there it is written out. From the center of my core, Kashyyyk. P.S. I've included a before and after photo below so you can see the difference your donation is making. The first photo was taken at the beginning of the cleanup effort nearly 3 years ago, and the second photo was taken just a few weeks ago. I feel like a whole new planet." So the purpose of this is to say thank you. It's to be silly, to be campy, to be feel good, and to really just say thank you to your donors who are giving every single month. These are the donors that are really, really engaged, the donors that you want to continue engaging. One email similar to this a year or one paper letter similar to this a year really can make them feel like they're making a difference. We've talked about the gift, so we've had an actual acknowledgement for the gift they're giving, and we have talked about that impact statement. So that $10 level helps clean up water. So there's that amount and that impact statement in a letter put together. It's silly, it's campy. For those of you who are not cleaning up planets and sitting there thinking like, well, how could I apply this to my organization? It doesn't just have to be silly like this. It can also be feel good. So from the point of view of a blanket that has swaddled a NICU baby or comforted a kid at the first night in your shelter, that's going to make an impact. A letter from your executive director is very nice. But that blanket talking about that impact, that's going to humanize it. That's going to give them that buy-in and that warm fuzzy. Again, silly things. So from the planet Earth or from a tree that just got planted in a neighborhood, you can find anything that you're doing at your organization and let your donors know what you're doing from the point of view of the impact that you're making. These are the kinds of things that get shared on social media. These are the kind of things that get sent to best friends and moms all over the place. And this is the kind of letter that makes people want to give more. Like, isn't this so cool? I did make a difference. $25 would make even more of a difference. I could do a year-end gift on top of my donation. I could give a little bit more. I could get my mom to give. Those are the kind of things that the silly, campy, ridiculous letters are going to do that, frankly, a letter from a staff member may not be able to do. So I really do challenge you guys to get creative with it, to think outside of the box and to be fun. At least once a year, just do something fun. And that way your donors have that little tiny bright spot, that light in the middle of everything that needs to be fixed. That's that impact area that's going to really make sure that when that credit card expires, they call you to say, oh my gosh, I don't want to miss a gift. Like, How do I get my new credit card information to you? That's the one where when you call and say, hey, I would love for you to do, an upgrade to your giving. Can you help me out? They'll say yes. They'll say, yes, I'm doing $10 a month. I would love to do $15 a month. I would love to do $20 a month. That's that difference between giving a little bit more to you guys and maybe giving to another organization as well. So, like I say, just a little challenge, make it fun, make it ridiculous. It's okay. And that way your recurring donors really still feel like they're part of it, even though, they're not right in the forefront of your acknowledgement letters every single month. All right. So from there, we'll click back over here. I have a couple of resources laid out here. So we have a couple of guides up on the Bloomerang website. So there's some donor-centric communication ones, sustainability, donor retention, all of that. I also strongly recommend the Bloomerang blog post by Erica Wastorp. She is even more excited about recurring giving than I am. And her blog posts are really great, reading about what you can do, the impact it can make, how you can really build it out as part of your recurring giving, and the importance of stewardship. So her writing is fantastic. And then I have also linked in here the Bloomerang Academy class for the importance of retaining first-time donors, since I talked about that. Being able to take those first-time donors, get that second gift, get that buy-in, get them giving, and being able to get them into a pipeline for a recurring gift really, really can make an impact year over year, and making sure that your attrition rate is not scary like that chart was. All right, I'm ready for any questions if anyone has them.
Thank you, Di. That was a lot of great information.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions here.
Sure.
First, how often should you ask for an upgrade?
Yeah, so that's actually a fun question. So the jury is out on that a little bit. Most people say every year to 2 years. If you were to ask like Adrian Sargent about that, he would say that you can do it more frequently. So every, 9 months. I would really say it depends on kind of the buy-in for recurring gifts, how comfortable your organization is on asking for upgrades, the relationship with the donors. If you have really great relationships, test it out. The worst they can say is, no, I'm going to stay at this level. So kind of whatever makes sense for you guys. I would say at minimum, probably once every 18 months, you should be asking. But like I say, the worst that most people say is, no, I'll keep it at this level. So.
It's always good. I mean, like especially if you haven't done it before, just try, and you'll kind of develop a baseline for your organization based on your constituents, because it's going to be different for every organization as well. Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Di, were you going to show us what happens if a recurring donor lapses?
Gosh. I don't have any lapsed recurring donors in my database. I'm so sorry. That's why I was trying to create one from the past, and you can't. And I was really hoping that my sample database would let me do it, but it didn't. So basically, if there's a lapsed donor, you can run a report and it'll pull up with the status. So I will actually click back over and show you how to pull a status into a report. Give me 1 second to pull it up, and then I'll share my screen again.
No worries. In the meantime, while Di is pulling that up, there's a question here. How do you end a recurring gift? If you open any recurring donation schedule that you already have in Bloomerang, there's a portion there on the right where you can enter a date for the end date. And if it's set to auto process, gifts or payments will stop processing after that point. So that's how you can end the recurring donation schedule.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Got this up now. Okay, so over here where we can add columns, I've added a column that says schedule status. So the way that I got there was I went to, I'll show this to you. So I did, that is not what I did. Recurring donation schedules and payments, and then I did schedule status, and I clicked on that, and that gave me what their status is for those recurring gifts. If it were like closed, it would say that. If it were no longer active, if it were lapsed, it would say lapsed. So you guys can add that column there. You can also, let's see, I'm going to throw a Hail Mary here and see if there's anything else. Let's see. Schedule status is, so it's closed or overdue. So overdue, obviously, it's the same thing as lapsed. No transactions. I'm so sorry. I don't have any in my database. All of my Star Wars characters are very, very good at making their recurring gifts, which is not helpful for teaching this class. I'm so sorry. So I will let a couple of these lapse so that the next time I teach it, I will have that up there. But yeah, that's how you would pull up that status so that you can see what's going on there.
Yeah. No worries. And Di, I'm going to steal the presentation from you for a little bit.
Sure.
I do have some payment failures on my database. So we've had a lot of questions on the chat too, and we'll get to them about are recurring donations only auto processed, or if you receive checks every month, can you put those in as recurring donations as well? I personally really love that if the donor is comfortable giving you their credit card information so that their recurring donation auto processes every month, we have what we call here a credit card payment failure alert, which tells you if for whatever reason the payment didn't go through. So it could be as vague as the payment was declined. Maybe there was a glitch in the system, maybe there was an internet outage. For whatever reason, if it was declined, it will tell you. Or it can be as specific as your credit card's expiration month is invalid, or there was an AVS decline. So I love this because it's a great way to catch those right away of like, there's one payment that failed to process, and you can catch that before they pile up and before you have to go to a donor and say like, well, the last 5 payments haven't processed. What can we do about this? So it tells you right away. So that's another way to do it as well. And you can report on these statuses as well, as Di mentioned. So you can report on whether a payment went through, and you can report on if a schedule is overdue as well. So fun little feature there for everyone. We have a next question here. What are your thoughts about branding a recurring giving program? We have a related question as well of, is it okay to call it a recurring giving club?
Yeah, I think you should call it whatever you want. Some organizations don't call their recurring givers. They call them like sustainers or sustaining members. Having a club is great. Branding it is fantastic as well. If you are going to offer like a benefit for membership, absolutely tell them what that is. If there is no benefit and you just want to make it more fun, go for it. Your recurring donors know that they're giving, they are recurring donors. They are sustaining your organization. So acknowledging that, there's no fault at all in that. Some people get really excited and buy into it. Some people really don't care what they call it. They just care about your mission and want to make sure that they're giving regularly.
Awesome. That's funny that you mentioned that, because we also had a question that asked, is a sustaining membership the same as a recurring donation?
It is, yes.
Awesome. We have a lot of people sharing great ideas as well. I wanted to read this out for everyone. Our clients sign a release form when they begin our program, and we do monthly story cards updating donors about the good things in that client's life. It has been very effective.
I love that. That's amazing. Good job.
Yes. Love the creative idea. Someone says, is there a reason that angle needs to be reserved for monthly givers only, especially if they don't have monthly givers right now?
Not at all. It's just a fun way to make sure that you're keeping your monthly givers engaged. So if you have that kind of program outside of your monthly giving, then make sure that you're including your monthly givers in it too.
Awesome. Speaking of communications as well, what's your thought on an actual letter versus an email in your annual communications? How about corporate sponsors or givers?
Yeah. So this is very much personal opinion, very much. So there's my disclaimer. Um, I prefer like less paper. So that is my general thought on it. Part of a recurring giving program is that you are doing it to save cost on your end. And stamps cost money and email doesn't cost anything. With that said, as far as your year-end tax receipting goes, your recurring givers need to get that. So that was kind of that annual that I was talking about. Some organizations have really specific uh, guidelines on how they do their year-end taxes. Sometimes it's based on recommendations from auditors, sometimes it's state or local law, sometimes it's country law. So make sure that you're still doing that. If you are required to send out a paper receipt, at the end of the year, send out your paper receipts. Otherwise, trying to keep your costs down for communications, email is the best way to do that. But again, doing something like a fun little postcard that's inexpensive, it's less, less postage than say a full-on letter, is nice. Maybe including a one-pager with your annual receipt for your recurring givers. That's not going to add anything to your the cost of your stamp. Yes, it's an additional cost for paper, but this letter from Kashik would be a really nice end of year letter as well with their year-end tax receipt. So kind of whatever you guys need to do is fine. If you're going to do more frequent communication, though, email is probably best when you can do it, again, to keep those costs down.
Is it appropriate to include recurring donors in other one-time annual solicitations, or should we keep solicitations for recurring donors only to upgrades?
So again, that's kind of an organization to organization decision. If you are going to solicit them on top of it, I would only do it once annually, kind of at maximum. Maybe doing it only when there's some sort of an emergency. So frankly, if you were sending out an emergency COVID communication, I would say include your recurring donors. Like, hey, we've lost a whole bunch of our funding, or hey, we're trying to keep our doors open, to serve our population during COVID. That is one of those one-off times that asking for a little bit of additional on top is incredibly appropriate. If you're automatically going to include them in all of your year-end giving, you'll probably have some donors that'll just say like, oh, well, I'm giving $10 a month, but I could just give $25 once a year. So maybe play with it, send the annual appeal letter to only half of your recurring gifts, population, once you have some, and see if they end up giving any more, or if you don't hear back, and then make those decisions from there. So it really depends on a lot of factors, your donor base, what people are used to getting, that sort of thing. So.
Awesome. Thanks. We also have someone who shared, we send our monthly donors our holiday appeal with a handwritten note that we appreciate their monthly donations, kind of like a soft ask.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. We have a question here, and this question has come up earlier as well. How often do you think a recurring donor, should you be giving them a call or an email or a letter every month if their recurring donation is monthly, or how often do you thank them?
I would contact them at minimum every 6 months. So if you want to do this 6 months, we're going to do a phone call, and we're going to call and say thank you to all of our recurring donors. 6 months from now, we're going to do an email blast. 6 months after that, we might do a postcard or a letter or something like that. Again, keep it a little bit fresh, because these are your sustaining donors. These are the people that are, giving every single month. So you don't want to just send out a letter that's printed once every 6 months. They're going to stop opening it. So like I say, at minimum every 6 months. Quarterly is probably better. It depends on staffing. It depends on how many recurring donors you have. If you have 10 recurring donors, monthly contact with them is probably doable on a meaningful level. If you have 500, making 500 calls, even every 6 months is going to be a little bit intense. So, kind of decide that based on how many you have, what your staffing looks like, what you're able to do, all of that.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So many questions, everyone. Thank you for thank you for all of your questions. Is there an easy way to generate reports for projected income from recurring donors through the end of the current fiscal year?
There is. Let me get one pulled up for you. Give me just a second. Sorry, there's going to be some dead air here for a second, Diana. So if you want to take another question while I'm doing this, go for it.
No worries. Just looking at some other questions here as well. We have staff who give via their paychecks every payday. How would we enter that? That's a great question. You can still enter recurring donations even if they don't auto process. So if somebody sends you cash or checks on a recurring basis, you can still create the recurring donation schedule in the system. You can manually enter the payments as they come in, or with our integration with Google Sheets, you can put them in the spreadsheet and just copy and paste the details every week or bi-weekly or however frequently it happens. And you can associate that with the recurring donation schedules as well, because you can't import recurring donation payments. So that's a great option or alternative to entering it manually.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so I'm in our report templates here. So we started from a template and we have a projected cash flow report. So this is kind of where I would start, and then you can modify it from here. So as you can see, this is pledges, this is recurring gift schedules, this is everything. And so this report, if you click on this, it'll tell you projected revenue during this fiscal year, and then it's going to show you year-to-date pledge payments, and then year-to-gift recurring donations. So as you can see, we only have $10, Luke's little payment there. So that's where we are at. And then you guys, again, can adjust this. So if you click in here, has any projected revenue during, we can do this fiscal year, we can do next quarter. And it'll show us what's going on here. So projected revenue for next quarter. So again, you would need to come in here and adjust this to say next quarter. So just make sure that you're keeping it even in both places, and you can see what's happening. So we will refresh it. Apparently all that money was coming in next quarter. So there we go. But again, you guys can kind of take this and adjust it from there. But I would start with that projected cash flow report and then set what you need based on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Di. Yeah. And while we're looking at reports, this is probably the last question we can get to. What's the best report to look at consecutive givers?
So just year over year giving or specific to recurring givers? The reason I'm asking that is we have a report template called Loyal Donors. And so this is people who have given basically for the past 5 years consecutively. So you can see year to date 2019, 2018, 17, 16, 15. So again, you can go in and adjust these amounts to different time frames if you don't want it, like to set it to your fiscal year, that sort of thing, if you want to. But this is going to be, people who are really consistent donors here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I've linked both of those report templates in the chat, but we'll also include those links in our resources so you can check them out really quickly or kind of like a shortcut to them. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of those wonderful questions. And thank you so much, Di, for all of that great information today. There's so much more we can talk about in terms of recurring giving, but we hope that this gives you a great start to get your recurring giving program off the ground. Thank you again for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed spending an hour with us as much as we enjoyed being with you. And we hope that we see you in another Academy class soon. Bye.
Bye.